You ready?
Nice, I'm ready.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this special meeting of the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board on the 15th of October 2024 to elect a trustee for Zone 2, Canada North and Canada South. Seeing quorum in the room, I would like to call our meeting to order, and I acknowledge that we are meeting this evening on the unceded and unsurrendered ancestral homelands of the Algonquin Nation. We thank the Algonquin people for hosting us on their land and for their long-lasting stewardship of these lands for the betterment of all those creatures and humans who live in these lands. In accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, does any board member have an interest to declare? Seeing none, I would like to move to approval of the agenda. Do we have a mover to approve the agenda? Trustee Jenkins, seconded by Trustee Lee. Is there any discussion on the agenda? I will call the question then. All those in favor of the agenda as presented and opposed, and that motion is carried. That brings us to matters for action. And we will be going in just a moment to presentations by those individuals who have applied for the position of trustee for Canada. The order of the presentations was determined by a draw, and all candidates have been advised of the time for their presentation and that they will have 5 minutes to make their presentation. At the conclusion of each presentation, the candidate will be asked to return to the trustees committee room until all of the candidates have completed their presentations and the preliminary voting has taken place. Are there any questions? Seeing none, then I would like to call upon our first presenter, Andrea Gwi. Good evening, Ms. Gwi. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
You are.
Excellent, thank you. Just before you begin, we do have a timer that should be appearing on a screen somewhere for you, and it will show you the time counting down from the 5 minutes. 30 seconds before your time is up, the timer will turn orange. And when the time is finished, when we're at 5 minutes, it will beep and you should be able to hear that. So please begin when you're ready.
Perfect. So I'll begin and say thank you so much for having me here today. So I'll speak about myself. So I grew up in the city of Ottawa. You know my name, Andrea Gwi. I attended OCDSB schools throughout my life up until the point that I reached university. And in fact, have attachment to Canada North, where I went to high school and lived for over 10 years. I'm of multi-ethnic origin, grew up participating in various religions, traditions, culture, and during my time in my elementary OCDSB school, I was actually the recipient of discrimination. So I can really speak to the impacts and the importance of creating safe learning environments and mental health and well-being, which very much aligns with the strategic plan in one of the pillars. In addition to that, I have a PhD in management and health systems. So I very much understand and value the importance of education. I also had the opportunity to teach at various levels, all the way up to university, where I had a class of 350 students. So again, all of these experiences really emphasize and have really taught me the importance of creating safe learning environments and safe spaces that are positive for all students. So one of the outcomes of my doctorate was really the importance of school. And schools very much are at the heart of our communities for children and their families. And I had the opportunity to interview vulnerable children and their families. And with this work, I had the opportunity to engage communities and to speak to the community members in terms of what their needs are, which also very much aligns with the role of trustee. So all that to say, I'd like to emphasize the importance of eliminating systemic and organizational barriers to really ensure that all students have the opportunity to succeed and to contribute as members of society, regardless of who they are, what they look like, where they're from, what language they speak, and what their personal circumstance may be. So I'm also a parent. So I have a son. Hard to believe he's going to be 11, actually this Friday, who attended an OCDSB school in the English stream. And with this, I had the opportunity to engage with the incredible educational staff, participate in the various activities both at the school and within the community, and really understand, of course, I realize the importance of education, but this has provided me really with firsthand experience as a mother and not just as someone who has gone through the school system. So you're probably wondering, okay, so what does she do for a living? So I work for the Federal Public Service as a manager. So I manage an incredible data analytics team. And in this role, in this leadership role, again, creating environments, whether it be learning or whether it be work, where you can be your authentic self, environments that are inclusive, environments that are positive, and environments that are non-discriminatory, where people feel safe to be who they are. And I really can't emphasize that enough. So with that, I'm very much an advocate for positive, inclusive, and non-discriminatory social spaces, particularly within the school system, but also more broadly as we look at different spaces and environments. So to answer the question that we were asked, do I intend on running in the next, as a trustee? I do intend on running, certainly, if I had the opportunity. And there it is. Thank you so much, everyone, for this.
Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
presentation. We will not be doing any questions at this point.
Perfect.
So we will ask you to go back now to the committee room and we will hear the others. And I would like to welcome our next candidate, Mr. Nicholas Boden. And before you begin, you do just press the button on the microphone in front of you to turn it on when you're ready. We do have a timer that will show on the screen. It turns orange when you have 30 seconds remaining for your presentation, and it will beep audibly at the 5-minute mark. So please go ahead when you're ready.
Madam Chair, one moment. I've been told that this isn't being live streamed right now. Is it supposed to be live streamed? It's currently up?
Sorry, Chair, through you. We are trying to address the live stream. I'm not sure if it's going to be up. It was supposed to be up, but the folks that are logged in remotely clearly have access. We're open to the public for anyone who wanted to be in person. We were supposed to be live streamed, but there seems to be an issue. I don't think it prevents us from continuing. But you're right that right now the live stream doesn't seem to be working, but we're trying to resolve that.
Okay, people are asking me why the live stream isn't running, and I thought it was of public importance.
I don't disagree, Chair. So, we're trying to get it working. It's at the chair's discretion here if you want to pause the meeting to wait for that live stream. But at this stage, I don't have any guarantee that that will be corrected, although we're trying to work on it. So we are open to the public physically, obviously. So I don't think we are in violation of our transparency requirements here, but it's really at the chair's discretion if she would like to pause the meeting until we figure that out.
Will we be able to make the recording available to the public afterwards if they are interested in viewing it?
I'm seeing a signal from Mike saying that yes, that is accurate. We will be able to do that.
Thank you very much. So we will continue. Sorry for the interruption. When you're ready.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I wanted to thank you all for taking the time to be able to listen to what I was going to say and why I think I would be a great trustee for the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board. My name is Nicholas Boden. My pronouns are he, him, and I think that I will bring a unique perspective and a combination of governance, experience, and advocacy, and a commitment to serving my community to the board. Let me start off by introducing myself. I work currently as a case manager at Vista Center Brain Injury Services. My career has been filled with service to others, specifically people who are disenfranchised in some way or who experience barriers by our society and the norms and the structures that we have set up. I am also the chair of Center 33. It is a local charity in Canada that helps LGBTQ youth just be themselves. It's the first of a kind youth center that we have in Canada. I also have run for municipal office in the past, so I am no stranger to the municipal proceedings and rules and idiosyncrasies that come along with it. Additionally, if I was selected for this position, I would very much be interested in running it once again in the next election in 2026. My academic background, I have 2 degrees. One is in recreation therapy, and in here, that's where I really focused on my frontline care and frontline service to the brain injury community. After that, I worked in the field for many years, and then I decided to go back to school. I went to the University of Ottawa, and I studied political science. while they are two very different different degrees, I find that knowing how health policy is made and understanding those rules has better equipped me with being a healthcare provider to my clients. I have a very strong commitment to advocacy and diversity. I myself, being a member of the LGBTQ plus community, understand what it's like to grow up in a community that's not accepting, schools included. I didn't grow up in Ottawa, unfortunately. I grew up in a very rural community where I was ostracized for being who I am. I wasn't welcomed. I wasn't allowed to be myself. So if I am selected as trustee, my my dream is to help make the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board as accepting and as just as open as possible for all of our students and parents as well. Additionally, my work with people who have brain injuries has given me valuable experience in understanding individuals with different needs. Again, like I mentioned earlier, my clients all have experienced barriers in some way. Typically, we see men having acquired brain injuries, and as that happens, generally those injuries happen at a younger age. That means typically they don't finish school because they are in the hospital. They're focusing on recovery. They're focusing on getting better. So generally they don't have degrees. And so my commitment and my work with the community has always been to strive to make those barriers as minimal as possible. And I'm almost out of time, but I'm going to finish with a couple of things. So I have very strong financial and policy experience. I worked as an executive director before. I've worked on many boards and committees in the past, both appointed by municipal councils, and those all have afforded me these financial acumen so that I could develop budgets in the best way possible. And I am almost out of time, so I just want to thank you all again for considering me for this role, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you all in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We'll ask you now please to go back to the committee room while we hear the other candidates.
Chair, can I interject for just a second? I understand that we've made an attempt to have the link to the live stream, which is working, but it's not available through the board calendar. We have posted the link to, or we are posting the link to the OCDSB website on the news section of the website. So anyone who you might be in touch with via text or elsewise who you want to send to the live stream, you should be able to direct them to the news section of the website within the next few moments. Thank you for the patience on that.
Good evening and welcome. Our next presenter is Shalo Daran. And before you begin, you can turn on the microphone just by pressing the button and it will turn red. And we will have a timer visible on the screen in front of you. It will turn orange when you have 30 seconds remaining. And when you are at 5 minutes, it will beep. So please begin whenever you're ready.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody had a great time at Thanksgiving with your family and friends. My name is Shalo Daran. And I'm very excited to apply for the position of the trustee as for primarily two reasons: my passion for education and my desire to give back to the society. I hold a PhD in chemistry, and my substantial portion of my career has been in academia. I have taught immigrant kids math, science, and chemistry, and I've been an active parent in my child's school, not taught, but coached the students for their science presentation skills for their science fair. I have judged Ontario Science Fair and also have given guest lectures at the University of Ottawa for graduate diploma in population health risk assessment. So based on my understanding, some of the key functions of a trustee and what I can bring to this job. So the first key factor, the key area, I think, is the stakeholder engagement. Given my over 15 years of experience working as a project manager at the University of Ottawa, coordinating different departments within the University of Ottawa and other multi-stakeholder groups like other universities and different government departments, it gave me ample of opportunity to engage with different group stakeholders and students, because my job was to help the research concerns of these students across various universities that are involved in the projects. These projects basically were NCE funded, and they went on for 7 to 10 years. So it gave me immense time to connect with these people and understand that it's always issues, there are issues, but you can always sit on a table and discuss them out. The second area I think that the trustees have a big time working on is policy making and budget constraints. So even here, like while I was at the University of Ottawa, we had a lot of projects that we were engaged in policy making processes. One example I would give here is the integrated risk management framework for addressing the risk issues of mad cow disease and the human variant of it. We basically formulated the framework, but the finalized version had to basically be reiterated 2-3 times, and these went through tripartite consultations with Canadian, United States of America, and Costa Rica industry, basically the departments dealing with the mad cow disease and variant Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease. So this basically enhanced my skills for strategic thinking and issues. Issues strategic thinking but also stakeholder engagement, because there were varied stakeholders involved in this kind of projects. Last but not the least, there's effective communication that is a key role a trustee has to do. So here I want to give an example that the 10 years that I was involved in these projects, I was also working as a guest editor for peer-reviewed articles, and there you have to work as a conduit. It's a double-blind process. So the authors don't know the reviewers, and the reviewers don't know the authors. So you are working basically as a conduit between the two parties and conveying the message, so that the authors are able to deliver their articles on time within the constraints and the guidelines, and reviewers able to review it and send it back to the authors. So if I'm able to deliver prove my capabilities in the role of a trustee, the first run, I will definitely for sure run again. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And now we will ask you, please, to return to the trustees committee room while we hear the remaining presentations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Our next presenter is Manu
Yeah, you can call me Manu.
And I would like to say welcome. You will have 5 minutes. Timer on the screen in front of you. It
Okay.
will turn orange when you have 30 seconds remaining. And at the end of 5 minutes, it will beep. So please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay. I am Manu Devani. I am a Canadian citizen, lived in Canada for 55 years. First 35 years in Newfoundland, then I moved to Ottawa. I came as a student from India, studied at Memorial University in Newfoundland, then went in teaching as a teacher, principal, then retired in 94 due to my health. Unexpectedly, I had a heart problem, out of the blue, no indication. I had a bypass surgery in 94 and then I retired. Moved to Ottawa in 2002. I spent most of my life in education field, over 20 years in schooling, and over 22 years as a teacher principal. Then when I moved to Ottawa, after that, over 10 years of voluntary service in the town of Grand Falls, Windsor in Newfoundland. In Ottawa, I did unofficial voluntary work, helping students coming from India in Algonquin College, help them to settle down and whatnot. In charitable organizations. And that's basically what I am. And with my education, social background, I think I'm qualified for the position of trustee. And say, oh, thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Devani. I will ask now if you could please return to the trustees committee room until we've heard all of the other candidates.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And our next presenter is Michael Edwards. Welcome. You can turn on the microphone with the button that's right at the bottom. It'll turn red when it's on.
Yep.
We will be showing a timer on the screen for you. And it will turn orange when you have 30 seconds remaining. And at the end of 5 minutes, it will beep.
Great.
So please go ahead when you're ready.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening. It's a privilege to be given this opportunity to share my thoughts with such a dedicated group of individuals who have worked tirelessly for the betterment of our schools. I come before you not just as a former candidate for trustee, but as a passionate advocate for our children and our community. Like you, I believe deeply that life is best when we build bridges between people, not walls. And that it is this spirit of connection that can help us drive real change in our educational system. Throughout my 30 years of teaching, I have had the privilege of working with students and their parents in an effort to provide a supportive and successful educational experience. Working with students possessing a wide range of abilities and backgrounds, I saw firsthand how building bridges, connecting students and their parents to the resources and opportunities they needed, opened the doors to success. I think that we can all agree that students thrive when they feel that we have their back. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are not just lofty ideals. They are the bedrock of a vibrant educational community. Every child deserves to see themselves reflected in their school, to feel valued and understood. Yet we often encounter pushback when trying to implement policies that promote these values, an experience lived by everyone in this room. This resistance can stem from a fear of change or a misunderstanding of the benefits that come with it. It's vital that we work together to build bridges between our schools and the community. Through open dialogue, we can dispel fears, clarify misconceptions, and show that good policies ultimately benefit all of us. Throughout my career, I've seen the power of constructive dialogue firsthand. When our school faced pushback over new curriculum initiatives, it was the establishment of community forums in which all stakeholders had a voice that brought about the most effective change. By focusing on our shared goal, the success of our students, we found common ground and moved forward together. Each of us knows that building bridges is about more than just having a conversation. It's about forming partnerships that empower our entire community. By connecting students, their parents, educators, and local organizations, we can harness our collective strengths to support every student in their journey towards success. I want to take a moment to recognize your hard work. Your dedication has built a solid foundation for progress in our schools. Both my daughters have benefited from your hard work in the past, and for this, I sincerely thank each and every one of you. The strategic plan you have developed will guide us in our efforts to create a more positive educational environment for all of our students. I'm committed to building upon your good work by forging connections that amplify our collective impact. Like you, I envision a school system where every student's potential is fully realized, where diversity is embraced, and where equity is not just an aspiration, but a reality. Together, we can ensure that our schools are places of excellence, support, and inclusivity. So in closing, I ask for your support, not just for me, but for a vision of education that values every student's success. Together, let's build bridges that lead to meaningful change. Together, let's address community concerns while ensuring that good policies are fully implemented, and together, let's continue to work to create a future where every child can thrive. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I look forward to the opportunity of working with each one of you, both leading up to and after the next election. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I will ask now if you could please return to the trustees committee room while we hear the remaining presenters. Thank you. Trustee Dixon, you have your hand up.
Through you, Chair. Yes. Can you tell me where the link is that the public can watch this? Because I'm getting a lot of texts asking me where the link is they can't get on.
It has been posted on the home page, I believe, Director.
Through you, Madam Chair, yes.
Homepage? Thank you, Chair.
Trustee Dixon, your hand's still up.
Thank you for that.
Good evening and welcome. Before you begin, You just have to push the button on your microphone and it will turn red, which will turn it on. We will have a timer displayed on the screen. It turns orange when you have 30 seconds remaining, and it will beep at the end of 5 minutes. So please go ahead when you're ready.
Good evening, Director Buffoni, senior staff, Madam Chair, and members of the board. I thank you for giving me this opportunity to address you this evening. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Ashley Darling McCallum. I am a wife, a mother, and an involved community member in my neighborhood of Canada South. I'm seeking the role of trustee because I hold a deep passion for education. This passion was first nurtured during my time growing up in the Ottawa Public Board, all the way from kindergarten through grade 12 in the early French immersion program. Today, I appreciate the immense value in a quality education, and I want to ensure all students have the same positive experience that I had. Teaching and education have always been my life's work. This is why I completed a diploma in early childhood education at Algonquin College, a degree in child studies from the Carleton University, and a Bachelor of Education from the University of Ottawa. I want to bring my passion, my experience, my deep roots in the community, and the voice of an educator to the board table. The notice I received from Manager Baker asked me to address whether or not I intend to run for trustee in the next municipal election. And the answer is definitely yes. I put my name forward as a candidate for Zone 2 in the 2022 election, where I came in a very close second behind Trustee Aziz. As a candidate, I spoke with hundreds of my neighbors and community members in Canada about their praises, questions, and concerns with regards to the OCDSB. I'm still in contact with them now, and I continue to listen every day, whether in my front yard, at the park, or at local community events. I am eager to be able to bring those concerns forward and take action to address them. Equity is an important focus for our school board. Looking at the ministry's Right to Read report, I am happy to see the declaration of an equal opportunity for all students to learn to read. The Acadians program intended for year 2 kindergarten through grade 2 students is an excellent example of how the OCDSB is implementing scientifically backed reading strategies to fulfill the Right to Read initiative. I would like to see that we continue to implement quality, scientifically backed strategies and systems for older students as well. As part of the program review, I understand there is a desire to increase equity by serving students in their own community. To be as inclusive as possible, an appropriate balance needs to be found in the way programs and services are structured. I will work to ensure we get this balance right, and that the changes being implemented are supported by parents and staff and do, in fact, present the best options to meet students' needs. For the second year in a row, we have seen enrollment drop considerably, a more than 2% drop this year over last, especially in year 1 kindergarten. Clearly, we need to look at what is causing this drop. I understand the board is taking steps to identify why there has been such a decrease in enrollment year over year, and I would like to be a part of that process as well as part of the solution. I would like to be a part of the team that makes the OCDSB the top choice for more families in the Ottawa region. I bring a hard-working approach to the position that will also foster collegiality and cooperation. Rest assured, I won't hesitate to become involved in new initiatives, and you can count on me to see projects through to the end. I am a pragmatic person who will listen to viewpoints from around the table. I make decisions based on producing outcomes that are fiscally responsible, improve student success, better staff well-being and retention, and are equitable within our district. My time working internationally in the field of education has given me the opportunity to experience different cultures, customs, and work habits, and to see how different public systems function and the benefits to students and staff. These lived experiences and cultural understandings that I bring to every task I undertake better enable me to support the diverse needs in the OCDSB. In conclusion, my strong background in education, my deep ties to Ottawa and the Canada community, along with my experience working collaboratively with individuals from all walks of life, I feel that I am an excellent candidate to fill the vacancy for Zone 2, serving the communities of Canada North and South, as well as the Ottawa District as a whole. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And we will ask you now if you could please return to the trustees committee room until we've finished the hearing all the candidates. Good evening. Our next presentation is from Julia Forte. And before you begin, you can turn the mic on by pressing on the button on the base of the microphone, and it will turn red and we're good. And you will also see a timer displayed on the screen in front of you. It will turn orange when you have 30 seconds remaining, and it will beep at the end of 5 minutes. So please go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, well, thank you very much, trustees, for having me here tonight to present to you my intention and interest in the position of trustee for Zone 2, Canada North and Canada South. My name is Julia Forte. I'm a former student of Earl of March, and currently my two sons are students at Earl of March themselves. As a longtime devoted resident of Canada North, it is my intention to run for the position of trustee Zone 2 in the next municipal election. Through my own educational journey, I've pursued university, college, and apprenticeship, which just is a way of experiencing the various pathways that students in our education system can experience post-secondary. And I feel that this experience harnesses my ability to support the work that is going on to facilitate inclusive learning. My career path has also been equally varied, holding roles in the construction industry as an architectural designer, a level 1 cabinet maker's apprentice, as a teacher in the construction-related programs available at Algonquin College, and now as an academic administrator at the college, currently in the Academic Integrity Office. Education and student success is my passion, and that is what I authentically bring to the Board of Trustees. I'm passionate about supporting all students, regardless of their learning styles and needs, and where possible, I believe in accommodations as opposed to modifications to learning. I hold my Master's of Education in Leadership and focused a lot of my research on ADHD and neurodivergent learning at the post-secondary level. My teaching career with the construction-related programs at the college really exposed me to the number of learning accommodations that students in these programs need. And that led me to pursue education in adults with learning disabilities, as well as being an advocate in our College Center for Accessible Learning, advocating for students' needs in the classrooms. My youngest son is also supported by an IEP, and I was impressed with the board's elementary program review and how it focused some of its research on special education, inclusive education, and the challenges with these two models. I would wholeheartedly embrace the opportunity to be a part of the board's Special Education Advisory Committee. I also support the board's strategic initiative around well-being. In both my teaching role and previous administration role at the college, I was exposed to the increasing number of students that face mental health difficulties and understand the importance of focusing on mental health in all of our education system. It's clear from the OCDSB's strategic plan that the board understands the need to address employee well-being as well as educator-student relationships to truly support the well-being of the school atmosphere as a whole and the students within that atmosphere. As a trustee, I will be committed to supporting this focus in the strategic plan because I believe that addressing mental health first will support the board's goal in improving learning in literacy and math. I'm equally committed to the board's vision towards social responsibility, particularly towards fair and ethical decision-making and truth and reconciliation. Allyship requires continuous effort and a commitment from all to address our own shortfalls. I recently accepted an opportunity through the college to participate in the Tibajmo Indigenous Knowledge Conference, which is being held on October 25th. And I've participated in several workshops to try to address my own shortcomings. I advocate where I can in a positive and kind manner. And an example of this is that recently with the Algonquin Board of Governors, I suggested that our board needs to take on IDEA training. And I'm pleased to say that my efforts to push this forward, they've agreed, the governance committee has agreed to set aside some funding for this for next year. I understand as a trustee that I'll be equally listening to my constituents as well as participating in good governance practices that support the board as a whole. And as a member of Algonquin's Board of Governors, I see this at a much smaller scale. I have been selected with a small group of Algonquin governors to head to the Higher Education Summit in Toronto at the end of November, and I'll be working towards my good governance certificate there. In preparing for tonight, I did review the school council minutes for all 15 schools in my zone, and this has helped me see some of the challenges that are faced by our school. Thank you for your time.
And thank you very much for your presentation. I will ask now if you could please return to the Trustees Committee meeting until we have finished our first round of speakers. And I would like to welcome our next presenter, Guled Addin. Did I pronounce that correctly? We welcome you to our meeting this evening, and the microphone has a button to turn it on just at the bottom, and I see you've already found it because the light is red. There will be a timer showing on the screen in front of you. It will turn orange 30 seconds before your time is up, and it will beep when we reach 5 minutes. So please go ahead and begin when you're ready.
Good evening, everyone. Before I begin, I want to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional and ceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. As an immigrant to this land, I have reflected deeply on the concept of home, displacement, and belonging. My family sought a new opportunity in Canada, learning to honor the history and culture of the land that we now call home. The acknowledgement is personal to me, as it ties into my journey of navigating the new system and advocating for those who have not always been heard. As a trustee, I will work with dedication towards reconciliation and inclusion in our education system, ensuring that every family feels they belong. My name is Guled Addin, and I'm honored to stand before you or sit before you here as a candidate for trustee with the Ottawa-Carleton District School Board. I come to this moment as a father and an immigrant and someone who has experienced firsthand in the challenges of many families in Ottawa face. I know what it means to navigate the school system with the non-English speaking parents who care deeply about education, but didn't always have the tools or understand to engage with it fully. That experience has shaped my commitment to ensure that all families, regardless of background, language, or circumstances, feel represented, supported, and heard. The role of trustee is critical. Trustees are the advocate and voices of the community responsible for shaping and policy that govern our schools, allocating resources equitably, and ensuring the needs all students' families are reflected in our decisions. As a trustee, I would work to break down barriers that prevent families from fully engaging with their children's education. I know from personal experience how important it is to have someone at the table who understands unique challenges of families who may feel marginalized. And I want to be that advocate. If elected, three things: inclusive. If elected, I will prioritize inclusivity in communication and decision-making. I want to ensure that every family, regardless of their background, feels that they can engage with the board, whether it is through language support, accessibility board meetings, or direct community outreach. I will work to ensure that all parents have a voice in the decisions that affect their children. Equity in resources distribution. As a trustee, we must ensure that students from all walks of life, whether in affluent areas, understand communities, have access to the resources that they need to succeed. This includes advocating for equitable funding, ensuring that schools in need receive support and tools required to provide a quality education for every student. Holistic education is not just about academics. We must focus on supporting students' mental health, fostering social emotional learning, and creating environments where every student feels safe, included, and empowered to reach their full potential. I have seen the great work the OCSD has done through the initiative phases like FACE, family, and community engagement, and state student achievement through equity. These efforts foster relationships and ensure equity in our schools are not just honorable, they are essential. As a trustee, I will work tirelessly to ensure that these values are embedded in everything that we do, from policy making to budget allocation. What excites me most about this role is the opportunity to represent families who are often missing from the conversation. Parents like mine, hardworking, passionate about their children's education, but unsure how to navigate the system, deserve representation in decision-making made at the board level. I want to be that voice for them, to ensure that every child potentially is recognized, and nurtured. To my fellow trustees and community members here today, I humbly ask for your support. I'm ready to listen, collaborate, and lead with integrity and transparency. Together, we can build a school system where every child has an opportunity to flourish and every family feels connected to their school community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
And thank you very much for your presentation. And we will ask you, please, if you could return to the trustees committee room now. And we will, you are our final presenter this evening, and we will be taking a preliminary vote.
All right.
Thank you again. And so we do need some election assistance. Director, could you appoint our election assistants, please?
Through you, Madam Chair, good evening, everyone. I'd like to appoint Associate Director Reynolds and Executive Officer Mark as election assistants this evening.
Thank you. And I would now call upon our election assistants to distribute the ballots for preliminary voting. Trustees are asked to vote for up to 3 candidates to proceed to the next stage, which is the interview stage. Any candidate who receives 2 or more votes will proceed then to the interview stage. Sorry?
Just for clarity, they don't have to put 3 X's, they can put up to 3.
Up to 3. So we have that clarification, up to 3 names.
Excuse me. Through you, Chair.
Trustee Dixon, go ahead, please.
I just text mine off to Kate. And I just wanted to make sure that she received my text with my 3 names.
Manager Baker.
Yes, we've received your votes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome back to the boardroom. We thought you might like to hear the results of the preliminary vote, which is still in the process of being counted. And I can give you the results of the preliminary vote. The following people will proceed to the interview stage. Guled Addin, Nicholas Boden, Ashley Darling McCallum, Michael Edwards, Julia Forty, and Andrea Gwi. And I would like to say thank you very much to Shalo Daran and Manu Devani for attending this evening, for putting your names forward. It takes a certain amount of courage to do that. And you are always very welcome to continue to stay in our board meeting this evening and hear the interview stage until the end of the meeting, what the final decision is. So thank you all very much. And we will now proceed to the next stage. And those candidates who have been selected for the interview process will be asked to go back to the boardroom. So candidates Darshan and Devani can stay here and listen in. And the order will be the same as the order for the initial presentations. So I will ask if Ms. Gwi could please stay with us. Because you will be the first up for the interview questions. Yes, please. And for the interview, there will be 3 questions asked. And for each of the questions, you will have up to 3 minutes to answer. And again, it'll go orange 30 seconds before your time is up, and it'll beep at us when your 3 minutes are finished. So are you ready? Thank you so much. The first question is, what elements of the 2023 to 2027 strategic plan most resonate with you and why? What may be missing for you, if anything?
Do I push this button? I do? Okay. Sorry. So I would have to say well-being, because as given my background in healthcare, as well as my experience teaching at the various levels, I think emphasizing well-being within the schools is essential. Mental health and well-being is critical, especially today, and creating safe learning environments for children that fosters well-being, mental health, creating these spaces whereby they feel comfortable to learn and be themselves, I think is really critical. In terms of what is missing, that's a great question. If you could give me a moment to think. I'm not quite sure anything in particular off the cuff is missing, but very much resonate with well-being.
Thank you very much for that. Second question, what are your views on equity and education? On equity and inclusion in education?
So I think equity and inclusion in education is essential. As I mentioned previously in my presentation to you, I think it's important that all students have an opportunity for success. So no matter who you are, where you're from, or what your personal circumstances are, I think all students need this opportunity to be able to be successful within our education system and to have the opportunity to learn. So I think it's important that we consider this as we think about inclusion and as we think about how we want to tailor our education and our policies and really ensure that we're meeting the needs of our broader community.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And the final question is, what does good governance mean to you?
So I think good governance ultimately means the importance of having a governing structure, whether it be through committee, to have policies that ensure governance, as well as the importance of collaboration, right? So when I think about governing tables and steering committees, the importance of working together in order to achieve the ultimate goal. So in this case, ensuring education for all students and access to education that's inclusive, ensuring positive learning environments for students, safe learning environments. So in terms of governance, I think ultimately it starts with a strong governing body. And then, of course, trickles downward in terms of how education is being provided.
And that is all of our three questions.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome to stay in the boardroom and hear the other candidates through their interviews. And thank you very much
Thank you.
for being here. Welcome back to Nicholas Boden. We have three questions for you. For each question, you have up to 3 minutes to respond, and the timer will be displayed on the screen as previously. Orange when you have 30 seconds left, and beeping when we reach the 3-minute mark. So the first question is, what elements of the 2023 to 2027 strategic plan most resonate with you and why? What may be missing for you, if anything?
So I just wanted to thank you for having me back. So the things that resonate with me the most in the strategic plan, I would say, is understanding that there are learning gaps within the education system, within within the city, within the school board, and that we need to be able to properly address them. And that's something that, again, I come with experience with, because it is something I say gaps in my notes, but I say it's barriers as well in other instances. So for the clients that I've worked with in the past, they've experienced these gaps and they've fallen through these gaps. And so this is something that resonates with me, but it is also something that I think I have solutions to fill and fix as well. Things like differentiated interventions, data-driven interventions, as well as targeted tutoring programs. So these are some of the programs and solutions that can be used. Sorry, I don't see a timer, but I'm just saying these are some of the solutions that can be implemented to address one of these things, but also the gaps. Another one that I find is the OCDSB is committed to equality, diversity, and inclusion. That's something that resonates with me, but also I think, again, while it's something that you are all working towards, it is also something where there are significant gaps. You've been focusing on promoting equality, addressing systemic racism, and ensuring all students have the best learning environment that they have. And we also want to make sure that that continues and that people and students with the challenges are able to be consistent, their education is able to be consistently implemented throughout their school career.
Thank you very much. I apologize that the timer has apparently stopped working. Is there any possibility of restoring the timer? So it's fixed.
Okay.
I figured that would work better when we move on to the next question. It's always a little uncertain when you're not sure how much time you have left.
Exactly.
And the second question is, what are your views on equity and inclusion in education?
Amazing. I touched on this on my last question, and also in my presentation, but it is something I value extremely to myself as a person of the LGBTQ plus community, but as well as to my clients and any students and parents and staff that may also identify as a part of that community. My commitment to the inclusion, diversity, and equity is evident in the different committees that I serve on, different boards and organizations that I volunteer for. My position as chair at the Center 33 in Canada shows that while I am a member of the community, I also know that there is a significant gap in diversity, inclusion, and equity, and that we need to address those concerns. And one of the ways that I'm doing it is through the work at Center 33, but also is something that I can do as a trustee if selected. Again, we need to make sure that there are efforts being put in place that support marginalized groups, racialized students, the LGBTQ plus community, as well as people with disabilities, just to ensure, again, that they have those supported environments that they so desperately need and that there are gaps of. Additionally, I think it goes just beyond those groups. I think we also need to but also talk about students who do have special education and who are needing those extra supports. We need to provide them an effective education in order for them to succeed. Again, as I say, I have had clients who have not completed their education, and it's been quite a barrier for them going forward in their life. And I work with them in order for them to break down those barriers and fill those gaps, and so that they can continue on and move forward and enrich not just their own lives, but their communities as well.
Thank you for that. And the final question is, what does good governance mean to you?
Thank you for the question. My first thought is to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and we have the POG in the Charter: peace, order, and good governance. For me, good governance is accountability. As trustees, we would be accountable to our students, to our elected our constituents who have elected us or have supported us. We also need to be transparent. We have a job that many people, or you have a job. I don't have a job as a trustee yet. And a lot of people will just say, oh, it's a trustee. They don't give it too much thought, but it is a vitally important position for our communities. It is one where if we don't have the basic support from our trustees, our education system starts to break down. When our education system starts to break down, then we will also then have societal breakdown. And I don't mean to paint a doom and gloom scenario. It is simply society is built on pillars, education being one and a very important one. As trustee, that is something that I would consider as good governance. It's accountability, transparency, respect for your other trustees, for the community, for budgets, for money. We all have budgets that we run off, but also the public purse is not as big as it used to be. Not as, yeah, anyways, sorry. I believe good governance is something that we must all strive for in order to have excellence within what we do. And it's not just something that we would do here in this type of setting, we would also do it. And I do it in my job. I don't govern per se, but I do oversee clients who don't necessarily always have all their executive functioning and do require some governing support or support in general. But again, I would just say to wrap it up, I'm running out of time. Good governance is accountability, trust, which I didn't talk about, and respect. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your answers to our questions. And you're very welcome to stay in the boardroom for the remainder of the interviews.
Thank you.
You don't have to leave, you know. welcome back. Our next candidate here is Michael Edwards. And we have 3 questions for you. We do have the timer, I hope, functioning on the screen. You will have 3 minutes, up to 3 minutes to answer each of the questions. And again, it'll turn orange when you have 30 seconds remaining.
Okay.
And it will beep when your 3 minutes are up. So your first question is, what elements of the 2023 to 2027 strategic plan most resonate with you and why? And what may be missing for you, if anything?
Okay. When I looked at the strategic plan, the one value in particular that spoke to me was the mental health, the student wellness. That resonates with me for a number of reasons. Over 30 years, I've worked with students that have a range of needs, and it's been, until recently, it's been a struggle to try and get those needs met within, I mean, you do what you can as a teacher, you do what you can as a school, but there was a lot of time spent trying to advocate for students and explain exactly what it is that you were looking for them in terms of supports. Whereas I find today, those supports are more forthcoming and we spend more time implementing them rather than advocating for them. I have twin daughters that are now 25 years old, and my daughter, when she was at Rock Carrier, was diagnosed with a severe form of OCD. And we had, even then, we had to struggle to get accommodations put into place for her. And that continued when she went off to Queen's. She was in the engineering program at Queen's, and it was a struggle for her to advocate for herself because she thought that her needs weren't actually understood within the educational community. So when I read well-being as a pillar of the strategic plan, I was very excited about the prospect of bringing more services to kids that are struggling.
And if you're ready for the second question,
I am.
that is, what are your views on equity and inclusion in education?
Well, like I mentioned in my initial presentation, I think it's important for students to see themselves in the school and to see themselves valued within the school. So often kids that do not feel part of their school environment find a reason for not being in school or being in class. And that to me as an educator, that's extremely upsetting. Having those kids bring their experience into a classroom enriches the experience for all of the kids that are in that classroom. And when they opt not to be at school or not to be in class, I think everyone's experience is diminished as a result. I've been encouraged by the number of kids that feel validated in our schools. When my daughters were going to A.Y. Jackson, they were quite concerned about Councillor Hubley's son, who had tragically passed away. And we tried to, with them, explain that the supports are there for kids and that the adults that are at the school are there for you and they want to support you. And I was encouraged when they ended up at AY and they found that those supports were actually there and that kids' differences were being recognized and they were being celebrated.
And our final question is, what does good governance mean to you?
I think that the primary goal of what we do here is to respond to and advocate for the parents who entrust us with their kids. I think that part of that includes making sure that the resources are there for them, but more importantly, that the resources are used effectively. It's in, if we have lots of needs in our schools, and if we are not being good stewards of the resources that are given to us, then we aren't able to provide the services that the students need. So for me, good governance is about responding to the needs of the parents and the kids that are in our school and making sure that the trust that they put in us is returned to them by way of the resources that we can provide. So we need to keep an eye on the bottom line, and I think we need to reach out to the community. And what I'd like to see is us reaching out to the community to use the capacity that exists, especially in Zone 2 in Canada. We have a lot of capacity out there. I've spoken to a lot of people at the door who want to help the schools. They want to get involved in the schools. There are people that are working in the high-tech field that see empty boardrooms and wonder why it is that they can't be utilized by the school board. So I think there's a lot of opportunity out there to bring the resources of the community to our students. And it's just a matter of, in my opinion, going out and looking for those opportunities.
Thank you very much for your answers.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And you're very welcome to stay in the boardroom until we've finished all of the interviews.
I appreciate that as well. Thanks.
This is the boardroom. I think they think the place where they've been sitting is the boardroom. So I think that's why
We can bring some of them back. And I will say welcome back. Our next interview is with Ashley Darling McCallum. And we have 3 questions for you. You will have up to 3 minutes to answer each one of the questions. And you will see the timer appearing again on the screen, orange when you have 30 seconds left and beeping when your 3 minutes is up. So the first question we have for you is, what elements of the 2023 to 2027 strategic plan most resonate with you and why? And what may be missing for you, if anything?
Oh, it's on. Okay. All right. Thank you. I liked the new draft of the 2023 to 2027 strategic plan. I had the privilege of attending one of the strategic plan meetings and chatting with a few of the trustees and senior staff. And I was happy to see that we're looking at how we can better student success in the board and looking at how we can support students. And is there anything missing? I think it's a pretty all-encompassing strategic plan this time around. I feel like I was pleased with what I saw, And I look forward to seeing how that plays out over the next 2.5 years. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Our second question is, what are your views on equity and inclusion in education?
All right, thank you. So as I mentioned in my presentation earlier, looking at equity and really putting that focus in that right to read and making sure that all of our students have that opportunity and have the strategies and the procedures in place to achieve that, and looking at sorry, I lost my train of thought. So how we can support them in that right, and looking at the diversity in the OCDSB and looking at how we have students from all over with different levels of English and French language acquisition, and just making sure that we can support them as they are learning English for the first time, learning French for the first time, and making sure that they can thrive, because reading is the foundation for your education and for your future. And I touched also in my presentation earlier on inclusion and ensuring that we're keeping the right balance when we're making adjustments to in the program review. I like to see students having the supports that they need, being included in the general classroom setting is awesome, so long as they get their supports. Because if we remove those supports, and I understand this comes down a lot to funding, and we need to look to the province for that. But when we don't offer the supports that students need when they're in the classroom, not only does it do that student a disservice, it also does a disservice to the other students in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And our final question is, what does good governance mean to you?
Okay, thank you. So looking at good governance, I believe we need to ensure that we are listening to all the voices that we are presented with regularly, whether that's students, staff, parents, families, our colleagues. We need to hear, we need to discuss, and we need to ensure that we are making the best choices to offer support to everyone as best we can. Understanding what OPSPA puts forward as the governing body for the Ontario Public Board trustees, just making sure that as a trustee, one has a good understanding of the expectations and the rules and all that goes along with that. Thank you.
And thank you very much for your answers. And we've been losing people as we end. I was reminded, make sure that when you say people are welcome to remain in the boardroom, that this is the boardroom, so you don't have to leave and can stay until we're finished all of the interviews.
Everyone I've talked to said they're more comfortable back there. Thank
So
you.
do as you wish. Welcome back to Julia Forte. In our interview process, we have 3 questions for you. And you will have up to 3 minutes to answer each one of the questions. We will have the timer up on the screen again. So it'll turn orange again, 30 seconds warning, and beep when your 3 minutes is up.
Okay.
So the first question we have is, what elements of the 2023 to 2027 strategic plan most resonate with you and why? And what may be missing for you, if anything?
Definitely the well-being aspect of it. I notice in my own experience in education at the post-secondary level that this is something that we need to address. The other aspect, as I mentioned earlier, I really do believe that addressing student well-being, school well-being, I thought it was very very good to see that part of that plan is addressing employee well-being as well. Just because I know from my own experience, if we want the classroom to be healthy, safe, positive learning environment, the educators need to feel positive and supported in their own mental health and well-being. So that really spoke to me. And again, from seeing my students, when we support them in their mental health needs, then they are more successful in school. The ethics aspect, the social responsibility, I felt that was also very important, just understanding that we have so many different learners, different backgrounds, different needs with learning disabilities. So supporting all learners in their journey, that really spoke to me. In terms of a gap, though, I don't really see one. And I guess the reason being is that the 3 key aspects of the strategic plan, there are so many small components to that need to be addressed and supported, that there's enough work in that alone.
Thank you for the answer. Our second question is specifically, what are your views on equity and inclusion in education?
Well, I think with equity, and actually I read one of Dr. Buffone's writings. You have these little, losing my words tonight, but you showcase that picture that a lot of us are familiar with of the children looking over the fence, and each of them has a different ladder based on their size. But what I particularly liked about your writing was the idea of liberation. So I hadn't thought of it that way before. Equity to me has always been trying to support all of our learners so that they can reach their dream, their potential. And certainly from my experience, like I said, with post-secondary education from the college level, university level, an apprenticeship, just understanding that we can allow our students to dream and pursue without barriers, that's huge for me. In my own teaching, just seeing how many students feel the need to pursue construction because they just don't think there's anything else open to them. And I'm constantly exposed to very smart students that just happen to have a learning accommodation. Not setting that barrier at the secondary school level, and letting them know that there's a wide range of post-secondary options available to them.
Sorry, thank you for that. And our final question is, what does good governance mean to you?
I've been thinking of that one actually. So good governance for me is the idea of I'm not going to instill change. I'm going to assist in change. So it's this idea that I'm part of a broader team and community that understands the goal and the perspective as a whole. In my current experience with the board at Algonquin, I have to listen to my constituent group, so administration, but at the same time, we're looking at change that's going to be positive for the college as a whole. From a trustee perspective, it's understanding what my constituents are saying, but also understanding that the needs of the board as a whole. There's a bigger picture, and I think oftentimes when we're just looking at constituent issues, and again, I'm just bringing this from my board experience, sometimes they're not aware of the bigger issues. And with the Board of Trustees and approving the size of budget that needs to be approved, where that funding comes from, the fact that there are ministry regulations that have to be followed. A lot of times at the lower level, we're not aware of all of the restrictions and implications that come from the ministry. Or even in our own programming, just understanding where there's a lack of support in our own programming. And again, speaking from board perspective from the college level, it might be a little bit different at this level.
Thank you very much for your responses to our questions. And you are very welcome to stay here with us until we complete our last interview.
Thank you.
And for our final interview, we are pleased to welcome back Guled Addin. And we will have 3 questions for you. And for each of the questions, you will have up to 3 minutes to answer. We'll have the timer on the screen again. It'll go orange when you have 30 seconds remaining, and it will beep when your 3 minutes is up. So if I may go to the first question, that is, what elements of the 2023 to 2027 strategic plan most resonate with you and why? And what may be missing for you, if anything?
If I may I go back to my things that I talked about in my speech? So for me is the model learning, the well-being and social responsibilities. And sorry, could you repeat the question again?
So what elements in the 2023 to 2027 strategic plan most resonate with you and why? And what may be missing for you, if anything?
The ones that actually,
And
that I-
I'm going to ask you if you would just push your microphone down a little bit, I think we'll be able to hear you better.
okay, perfect. The ones that resonate with me is the equity and inclusion one, mostly. It ensures all students that have, hopefully to have an equal access to resources and programs and opportunities to succeed within our school system. That's my answer.
Thank you very much. Our second question, I will give you an opportunity to expand on that because the question is, what are your views on equity and inclusion in education?
My view in equity and inclusion is equal access for all students from all backgrounds in walks of life to have the resources that they need, to making sure that we equip them with everything that they need for them to succeed equally. Those opportunities would be something that I will focus on, and making sure that in certain backgrounds, people or students or everywhere, they have the resources that they require, and equip them with the right tools in order for all students to succeed.
And our third question is, what does good governance mean to you?
For me, good governing means putting in place the right policies and procedures and policies to guide us through step-by-step instructions to help others. And that's essentially what it means for me. Putting in place things that are equitable for others, to making sure that those policies are some things that we do follow.
Thank you very much for your answer.
You're welcome.
And that brings us to the end of our interview process. And we would be happy to have any of the other candidates, if there are still some who decided to go back to the committee room, back in the boardroom as we take the final vote. And you may certainly stay in the boardroom yourself. And so I will call upon our election assistants to distribute the ballots. I would like to remind you that the following candidates remain on the ballot at this point: Andrea Gwi, Nicholas Boden, Michael Edwards, Ashley Darling McCallum, Julia Forty, and Guled Addin. Please vote for one name only. I have to cross out my first result. Do you want a new ballot or will that be okay?
Since it's clear, that's fine. That's clear.
And just to remind everyone, while they are busy counting ballots, if no candidate receives a majority of votes, a second ballot will be held. But the name of the person receiving the fewest votes will be dropped from the ballot. And that will continue until we have one candidate receiving a majority of the votes. If we end up with a tie, we will take a vote again. And if the tie is still not broken, then we will draw cards to determine the results using the bridge convention to determine ranking of cards, ace being high with card suits in the following order: spade, heart, diamond, and club. So we don't know how many ballots it's going to take, but we will be prepared to vote until we have made a choice. And I am very pleased to announce that Julia Forte has been elected as trustee for Zone 2, Canada North and South on our first ballot. Congratulations, Julia. The elected trustee will be sworn in at our next board meeting on the 29th of October, 2024. And I would like to say a very sincere thank you to all of you who have put your names forward and have taken the time to come out to fill out your application forms and your resumes and everything else, and to come out to speak to us directly tonight about why you were interested in the position. It is clear that public education matters a great deal to all of you. So thank you very much. And now at this point, I would like to call for a mover to have a motion to destroy the ballots. Trustee Kaplan-Murth, seconded by Trustee Lee. All those in favor of the motion to destroy the ballots and opposed? And the motion is carried. So with our business all complete, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you again very much.